Bhunga. Today we are going to see some advanced concepts in CSS. So we are going to see the CSS selectors, pseudo class, pseudo elements. This class is for an intermediate or a beginner level. So I guess most of the intermediate users might have already known much of these properties, but refreshing your memories doesn't hurt. In my previous video, I have discussed about the flexbox and grid and building some beautiful layout with it. So if you haven't checked that out, the description might pop up above. You can check that out right now. And I'd like to thank you for watching my video. And if you like it, please subscribe. That gives me more motivation to build more videos like this. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's begin with the CSS selectors. The first thing we are going to look is the select all. So this is the HTML that we are going to work around. Okay, as you can see here, we have a div with a class select all, and inside this div we have h5 and a p tag. Notice that the both the h5 and the p tag has a color. So if you have a div and you want all the child elements to have the same CSS property, then you can use the select all method. So on the bottom you can see select all star, and there is a color. Yeah, so basically it just select all the elements within this div or within the one you have selected. So that is the select all, and the next thing we are going to look is a child of a parent. Yeah, for this you can see that the second line is underlined right here. So as you can see here, this is underlined. So let us move on to the HTML. I have the same select all div. Inside I have h5 and a p tag. So let me hover over to the p tag, and you can see the select all and with a caret symbol and a p tag, a text decoration underlined. So what does this do? So this p tag has a parent select all. So in whatever the quantity of p you have as a direct parent to select all or div, it will have a text decoration underline. So let me add another paragraph and we can take a look how does that look. So this is the exercise file, and I'm just gonna add the same p tag inside a div, and let's see if the underline works on it. Okay, now refresh. So you could see that this line doesn't have an underline. That's because this p tag is not a child to the select all. It's a child to this div and not to the select all. So it should be direct child. So this affects the direct child of the element. So the next thing we are going to look is the plus symbol. Its the definition says place immediately after. So let us look at the example. In here we could see this list items has a background color, and you could see I have the p plus ul has a background color. So what does this do? So it will just check if this ul is placed immediately after this p. So that is the definition for the plus, placed immediately after. So this ul is placed immediately after p, so it just take this background color, whereas this one, it's not placed immediately after p, it's immediately placed after a div, so that doesn't take a background color. So that's all it does. It just apply the CSS to the one placed immediately. And the next thing we are going to use is a tilde symbol. It is the one which affects on the preceding elements. So notice on the example we have two lists here which has a background color. So let us inspect, and as you can see, this the p tilde ul has a background color, and this one also has a background color. So this tilde, it just takes all the element that is preceding to it. So what I have mentioned here is any ul that is preceding to p tag, just take a background color. So this is the first p tag, and this is proceeding to it, and also this is proceeding to it, and so that it takes a background color. So it compared to the plus, this plus takes only to the one which is placed immediately after that element. So this one, it just goes to all the elements which is preceding that. So yes, you can make the difference. All right, the next one is begins with. So that's a tilde with an equal to. So what's a begins with? So in here, as you can see, this sentence has a different color. So let us inspect, and this has a class top title. So my CSS here is I have defined the class and with the tilde symbol and an equal to top. So what does it mean? So whatever class begins with the top, it will have this color. So suppose I am changing this class to top, enter. See, the color has been changed here. So it just takes whatever class begins with a top. So there is just an opposite for that. So that's an ends with. So in here we have to use the dollar equal to. So when we look at the example, you could see these two paragraphs. This has a class top title and this has a class top subtitle. Notice the word title is on both of this p tag. So both this have this color. So it just check whether it ends with that word. So this is the CSS class dollar equal to title. So just check if the class ends with title and apply the CSS property. And the next thing we are going to take a look is contains. So this is also a useful one. So as the word, it's self-explanatory. So whatever elements which have contain or are the word you specified, the CSS will be applied to it. In here, the class name is subtitle description. So I have mentioned the CSS property as dollar equal to description. So the color should be affected for it. The next thing we are going to discuss is CSS pseudo class. So we are going to see 7 properties here. So the first thing is first child. See here, in the list, the chocolates are having a different color. That's because I have mentioned the CSS property as list items. So this UL has a class list items, and the first LI should have a color of FC5546. So this has a color. So notice that this doesn't have a class of list items, so that is not affected. So this to list has a class of list items. So the next thing is the last child. So as you could see, we have a different color. We have the first and the last child properties, but how about the middle one? So we could select using the nth child. So as you can see here, so this is the nth child 1, this is the nth child 2, this is an nth child 3. This is not an array, it doesn't start with 0. So the second child, we can put some CSS property specifically. So in here, I have a color. So that's why the second child has a different color. So the next thing is not. So in nots, we have mentioned the CSS as a list items, and it says a list items, not list items. So what does that mean? So this list item doesn't have a class of not list items. So this doesn't have a background color. Notice for the list items, I have given the background color in general. So this list item has a background color, but this doesn't have a class not list items. So the background color is transparent. But on this one, it has a class of not list items. See here? So you can notice the not list items here. So that's why this list has a background color. So that's about the not, and we can see about the valid, invalid, and the focus within. Okay, now we can look at the valid and the invalid. So in here, I have a simple input box, as you can see here. So now the color is a grayish color. So let us hover over it and see the CSS property. So I have just mentioned, so if the form input is invalid, then the background color should be something like this, and if it's something valid, then it should have a different color that is white. So let me pull over to this. As you can see here, the form input, if it's valid, it should have a background color, and if it's invalid, it should have a different background color. So you could do the form validation right here, but this is available only for the HTML5. So in a majority of application, you need to write your own validation scripts. And the next thing we are going to take a look is the focus within. So this focus within is a really cool thing. So in here, if I focused into this input box, notice that the background is blurred. So do you see that? So I'm gonna focus it again. So the background is getting blurred. So why is that? Because I have mentioned the input properties to have a focus within state. So let me show you the properties. So in here, the drawing board, that is the main div. As you can see here, this is the drawing board. I mean, this is the section, this is the main div. It has all the content here. So within this drawing board, if something focus within it, then this dot content, so the dot content is the one which is blurred. So as you can see here, I have the dot content and then the form. So this dot content is blurred. Did you see here the filter blur of 5px? So this is getting blurred. So it's the simple CSS, and that's all about the focus within. And the next thing we are going to look is the before and the after. Okay, so what if I don't like this list item disk, which is the default one, and we have the other list styles, but I want something customized. So as you can see here, this list items has a star. I know that's not pretty, but you can pretty much use any image or anything. So in here I have used the before property, so or an after property, whatever works. So in this after, I have given a content as empty. So notice if you give a content to be some text, that will be visible here. So we just don't want any text there. So you notice that you cannot type in any HTML, so only the text and stuff will only work here. So I just want the content to be empty, and I have placed this absolute to this li. Notice this li will have a position relative, and to this li I have placed this an absolute, and I have set a background image. That's a star you can see there, and I have set in width, height, and I have centered to this li. So that's a customized li, and you can pretty much use this after anywhere in your div. So this is just an example, and it just a pseudo element, so it places something before or after. So the before and after doesn't have much difference. So it's placed before and it's placed after. Now take a look at what if I typed in the before. So I have typed a before to the same thing, and you could see the before is there and also an after is there. You could place this before to the left, and you could place this after to the right. And for the same li, you can have two pseudo elements. So that's why the before and after is there. All right, so we are at the end of the video, and I hope that it helped. If you like my video, I really appreciate for you to subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much.